What's happening, everybody? It is me. I'm here at the meat cooler at my job. Before we begin, allow me to remind everybody that tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on my channel, of course, Music Maniacs will be live with, of course, me, Argnolia, and YR. And on this coming episode, we're going to be taking a look at musical acts that had that massive breakout hit single, trying to follow up that hit with a couple other singles, only for those singles not to do so well as the first one did. If you know any acts that had this happen to them, let me know in the comments below, and I'll definitely mention them tomorrow night. Now, I cannot count how many times in the past I've been mistaken for this person, this individual, that singer, that guitar player, that celebrity. It happened many times back in Michigan, a couple times in Texas, and last weekend at the castle here in Florida. Back in Michigan, my hair was a lot more longer, a lot more darker. People would say I was either Joey Ramone, Ozzy Osbourne, Howard Stern, Jimmy Page, Alice Cooper, Gene Simmons. A couple times in Texas, people presumed that I was either Kevin Bacon or James Woods when my hair was short. A couple of times in Numbers nightclub in downtown Houston. And as I mentioned last week at the castle, a couple of people thought I was Roger Waters. And who could not forget the time I was mistaken for Devious Dave Rose? Wouldn't you know? Last night, while I was doing my Soundscape stream, I was hit up on Facebook Messenger by a buddy who used to play in a few Detroit bands in the early 80s and 90s. He DMs me showing me a photograph of a well-respected Detroit band called the Almighty Strut. They had this hit song that was played a lot on local radio stations called Cheap Thrill Looks. That was in 1984. Now this guy, he sends me the photo. He says, "You were definitely a badass player back in the day. Are you still playing now? In any bands?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He tells me, "You are a great guitar player, dude." I'm like, "Thank you, of course. I still play occasionally here and there, hence the guitar playing videos I've done in the past." He replies, "You should be playing constantly a lot more. You had a great talent. Of all that great talent, Strut, in capital letters, you were definitely the brains and the sound behind it. Don't get me wrong. Gunnar Ross was unbelievably talented, but you guys made a great marriage playing together." Now, Gunnar Ross was Strut's drummer for many years. He would also go on to do session work and live shows with Ted Nugent later on. I replied, "I never played with Strut." He's like, "Oh?" I was like, "Yeah. By the time I started going to places like the Ritz, New York, Harpo's, Blondie's, that was in 1988. The Almighty Strut was no longer in active service at that time. They disbanded." I asked, "Which guitar player are you referring me to?" His reply, "Earl Lee Pearl. That was his name." I say, "That was never me. I never saw them live, let alone do any shows with them." He replies, you look just like the guitar player. And your first name is the same. How is that possible? Well, it is. Now this kind of reminds me of that other Facebook friend I talked about a couple years ago back in Texas, who messaged me saying, hello from the Almighty Strut. Remember when we used to do this backstage? Remember we used to do this gig? Remember doing this? Remember doing that? I told this guy I never met, never saw, never hung out with any members of the Almighty Strut. Period. Now, I don't know where that other guy went. He probably dropped me along the way when he had it wrong, I guess. But this kind of took the cake. So I looked up the guitar player, and sure enough, his real name was Earl Lee Pearl. And in a way, he did look like me in a way. The only difference is, he'd probably be a lot more older than what I am. Because around 1984, when that song, Cheap Thrill Looks, was a big hit, I was 18 years old. And like I said, I didn't start hanging out at those area clubs till around 1988. Now, my question to anybody out there watching this video, have you ever been mistaken for somebody famous or somebody else around your area? Let me know in the comments below if that has happened to you. In the meantime, I gotta get back to work. Got a lot of stuff, or not so much a lot of stuff to put out because we're almost empty on some of the shelves here. Once again, I thank all our customers for shopping with us at our location. And also, subscribe to my channel, hit that like button and notification bell. And once again, we'll see you tomorrow evening for Music Maniacs, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Take care, everybody.